well, official last lecture of GPU programming. In the last lecture, we are going to look at some of the WAP voting related functions which are provided by CUDA, which were added, well, I should say, little late in a few years ago. But these are nonetheless interesting. If you want to optimize your code further at the lowest level, these can turn out to be very useful to some of you, and therefore I thought that I'll probably cover these rather than something else. All right, so what are these WAP voting functions? So what we have been doing so far is operating at the thread level, then operating at the thread block level. There is some synchronization using sync threads, there is shared memory usage, etc. And then CPU, GPU computation, GPU, GPU peer access, etc. Within a warp, we have looked at two aspects. One is thread divergence, another is memory coalescence. So thread divergence is related to computation. The memory coalescing is related to the memory part. This is where, in some sense, little bit of coordination across WAP threads is useful, and that is where WAP voting comes into play. What does it mean? Well, it means that you want to just ensure that whatever is happening, that is restricted to only the WAP, only the 32 threads which are part of the WAP. What are those? Well, if I have to satisfy certain predicate, let's say I want to just check if a particular data item is true, a of thread id x dot x, whether that is equal to 1 or it is less than 100 or something like that. That predicate I can give to different threads in the warp and get an aggregate answer out of only the warp threads. For example, if there is __ all predicate, then that predicate gets evaluated by all the warp threads, and that answer is available to me as a bit pattern. Right? So, well, in this case, it is going to be 1 if all the threads in the warp are going to evaluate this predicate to true. Right? Similarly, any is going to be an OR condition. If any of the threads, warp threads, have this condition satisfied, then the output is 1. And ballet is the general case where I'm going to get a bit mask of these 32 evaluations from these 32 threads, right? which can be used for implementing all and any. So let's make use of these. Any questions on this basic aspect of WAP voting functions? Okay. So let's look at a particular use case. So we have a kernel launched with 128 threads, that is 4 warps. And each of these warps is going to execute this all primitive. What needs to be checked? It says the thread ID is less than 100. And assuming that this is going to return output of the code. Yeah, don't think that because this is the last lecture, I'll not ask you.
Sir, your voice is breaking terribly.
It's breaking terribly. Sorry about that. I don't know what to do. Nothing has
Now
changed.
it's okay. Now it's okay.
Oh, okay. I don't know if something to do with the mic. Okay. So, yeah. So what will be the answer to this question? Answer of this program? Output of this program? Okay, let me ask you in this manner. How many lines will be there in the output? Okay. Okay. Shubham says 3. Aditya, Nivedita, Arihant are saying 4. Okay. So, yeah, so we'll have 4 outputs because there are 4 warps. So each representative from a warp, that is 0, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3,
Sir, your voice is not audible.
Okay, I lost connection for some time. I hope I am audible now. Okay, so my question was, yeah, now am I audible, Sheikh?
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I had lost connection. I think there are a lot of things happening in the campus today. Okay, but anyway, so what will be printed by warp 0 or thread 0?
One.
Okay, right. So we are going to see that all the warp threads are going to satisfy this condition. So underscore underscore all is going to be true for all the warp threads of warp 0, warp 1, warp 2. And therefore they all should return 1. And warp 4, which is going to have this condition to be true only for, let's say, 4 threads, but rest of the 28 threads, it's going to be false. Therefore, the all condition is going to be ending of all these bits is going to be 0. And therefore, we'll see 0 as the output. And therefore, we expect this output to be there in some order, right? In some order. Any questions on this part? Okay, then you can also tell me the answer to any. What will be the answer? Right. So we'll, yeah, Shubham, go ahead.
One for all warps.
Yeah. So all the 4 warps are going to have 1 printed, right? So that is what has been also suggested by Aditya, Rihant, and Prahlad Reddy. Okay, so we'll get this particular output. So that part is all right. And then ballot is going to give us what? The mask corresponding to the bits. Now what will be the answer? And now you will probably realize why I have been printing it with %x rather than %d. It's going to be easier for us to analyze the output. Okay, what does the warp 0 print? Okay, Arihant says that it's going to print 8 Fs. And that is correct because this warp is 32 bits. All the threads are going to have 1 corresponding to the condition evaluation because all of these are evaluating it to true. And therefore, we'll have, when we try to print this 32 once, essentially that is in the hexadecimal form, it's going to be chunks of 4 bits, which is nibbles. And those nibbles are going to be 8 in number. And therefore, we'll see the answer as all Fs. All right, so that sounds good. So that is going to be for the first 3 warps. The last warp is going to print what? Okay. Aditya says it's going to be F followed by 7 zeros. Any other suggestions? Okay. I should mention that Aditya is on the right lines, but there is some small twist to the answer. Okay. So far we took only the symmetric case. That's why probably this question didn't arise. But these uh, uh, thread number 97, sorry, thread number 96 up to 127, right? These 32 threads are going to be ordered from right to left. So the least significant bit is going to be for thread number 96, and therefore the output will be okay, the reverse. Okay, so it will just print a single F. It will not print the zeros because this, I mean, the leading zeros are truncated. All right. So just to make sure that we understand this, I'm going to change the condition now to this one. What is going to be the output? Yeah, Aditya, that is again on the right lines, but with a twist again. Yeah, instead of 1010, it will be 0101. Right, the last bit has to be. Will that be the thread IDX? But x mod 2 equals 0. Yeah, so this condition is going to be 1 for thread 0, and that thread 0 is going to be the last one, and therefore the condition will be, I mean, it will be 1010 from the right hand side to left hand side, right? So therefore the output is going to be all 5s. And this is going to be true across all the warps because, I mean, this is just mod 2. All right, any questions so far? Okay. So one of the usual optimizations that get done with respect to warp voting is to reduce synchronization or the cost of synchronization. And let's see how that can be done. And Atomics turns out to be one of the very important places where the synchronization cost can get reduced. So what happens is that, let's say you are incrementing certain counter, right? So every thread is trying to increment, like we wanted to insert some elements into the work list, right? Or we wanted to increment a counter for some reason. In such cases, each thread is independently incrementing the counter, and that counter is a shared variable which becomes a bottleneck, especially when large number of threads want to update it. Is there a way we can reduce that contention? Is there a way we can reduce the number of atomics? Like we said, instead of doing atomic increment every time, can we do atomic add, for example? So, but in this case also, when doing atomic add, we still considered each thread to be separate. When we did, for example, let's say global barrier across all thread blocks, we said that let's not keep every thread of the thread block participating in this part. Let's keep the counter as number of thread blocks, and let's have the thread blocks synchronize amongst themselves first, and then one representative from each thread block, let it handle the synchronization across thread blocks, right? So this was turning out to be better compared to every thread participating into the global barrier directly. So a similar hierarchical mechanism we can use if you have a representative available with you as part of the walk. And that can, I mean, in general, it doesn't matter so much because everybody is going to execute the same instruction, right, in the SIMD manner. But when it comes to atomics, this causes more issues, right, with respect to the cost of the atomic. So let's see how voting can be done. So this is what we have. We have an atomic increment of the counter based on certain condition and some large value n, right, at which it wraps around. How will you use warp voting functions to reduce this cost using the at the warp level? Can somebody suggest that? Please think about it, and if you have any suggestions, please post in the chat box. And if there are any issues, please ask. Okay, so the natural way in which I would like to think about this is that different threads in the warp want to increment this counter by some means, right? And what we are not sure is, can we use ballot as mask? Sure, we should be able to use ballot as mask, but how will you process that mask? You'll have to still go over the mask to look at which bit is going to be set and accordingly increment it appropriately. So not all the threads of the warp are participating in this atomic increment. Some of them are, and we would like to increment it according to the number of threads which want to increment. Now, what Aditya suggested is that we have this ballot which is going to set certain bits to 1, and that we can use as the indicator of the counter, right? But we'll have to still count the number of bits, right? So that is what is the issue. So I hope the issue is clear that what we get is the mask. We are not getting, what we are interested in is the counter, number of bits set, right? So for that we need some function. So this is what I was talking about, that can we optimize it with the ballot, because there are only a few threads which are going to increment, but the overall number of threads which are going to increment, let's say within a block or even across blocks, is going to be large. So that contention is going to be high. So one of the ways in which this needs to be done is to identify a representative, and that representative is often called as leader election. In the distributed memory setup, this is often called as a leader election. So in this case, it's not really a distributed setup, but we'll call it, let's say, leader election. And leader election essentially is just simple. We just did that on our previous slide where we said thread idx.x mod 32, right? As long as it is equal to 0, that means that I have found out one leader, and it could be any thread within the warp, right? So this is what we have done. Okay, so leader's job is to collect this warp count and then increment the counter. Now, as soon as you are able to do this, the number of atomic increments that you can have is going to get reduced, because the leader is going to do an atomic add using the counters from the warp, right? So in the worst case, if I might reduce it by 32 times the number of atomic increments, and that can be a huge cost. And in general, even if you assume that half the threads are doing atomic increment, still it is 16 times, which is going to be quite useful from performance perspective. So as this question arose, this ballot is going to give us a mask, but we want to count the number of bits. So that is provided by some other function __ popc, which is given the mask, it is going to return the number of set bits, right? And there are other functions, for example, FFS, which is going to return you the first set bit from the right hand side, from the lowest significant bit side, which can be very useful if you want to go over the set bits and you want to process them one by one. So this is going to be sequential in nature, but this can also be helpful. For now, popc is sufficient for us, which is going to help us increment this, right? So the leader is going to perform an atomic add. This also is an important point, that there are two atomic variations available to us. One is atomic increment, which is more fine grained, and atomic add, which is the coarse grained. These are required when you are performing these hierarchical operations. So when you are operating at the thread level, atomic increment suffices. When you are operating at the warp level or thread block level or the GPU level, you are going to require a higher level semantic or a coarse grained function. In this case, it is atomic add. So when you write your own libraries programs, you have to think from this perspective that, okay, I have provided this basic fine-grained implementation. Now, what are the higher level coarse functions that I need to also provide? Okay. This is definitely going to reduce contention. And the way it is going to look like is essentially we have this ballet. So this is only the usage. This is not about the atomics. So this is going to be thread idx.x less than 100, the same condition, and this is going to print the popc of val. So what is going to be the output? Now I have %d here. These are nothing to do with atomics. This is our original program. What will be the output? Mm, 100. No. So this also happens warp by warp, right? Yeah. So what Chet is suggesting that we'll print 32 by each of the first 3 warps, and the last warp is going to print 4, which is going to be in some order. Right? So that is what is the expected output. Does that seem reasonable, Aditya? Okay, good. Any questions so far on this? Okay, so now that you know this, can you implement the atomic increment using this? So I'll wait for a few seconds. And so you assume that atomic increment is being done by multiple threads based on certain condition. If condition atomic increment some counter ampersand counter with some large value n. Now, can you transform that in C to reduce contention? So now the colleagues once said that he gave in one of the exams a question, some big question, and then can you identify how you will do this? And one of the students wrote yes. So when I am asking you that can you do this, please try to do that in your copies or online. Okay, any suggestions, any difficulties? Anybody needs more time to think about? Okay, maybe it is too simple. Okay, so let's do that. By the way, this is also called as warp consolidation. Whatever we are doing with the warp voting, that is called as consolidation at the warp level. So if condition atomic increment ampersand counter, this was our original code, and it's going to look something like this, where I'm going to have that condition pushed as the ballot condition, which is evaluated by every thread, which is going to return a mask, and then the leader is going to do an atomic add, that is the coarse part, using POPC of the mask. So that is going to give you the same answer as this, but the number of atomics is going to considerably reduce. Okay, Sai Chaitanya has written the val equal to ballot condition if threaded module atomic add ampersand counter, comma POPC val. Yes, that seems correct. So I hope I have written it correctly as Sai Chaitanya has pointed out. Any other suggestions? All right, we'll move ahead. What I want you to do is to return the mask if every third thread of a warp, right? So read this a little carefully. Every third thread of a warp, you can take it from left or right, up to you. If it has this particular data item to be 0, right? If that is the case, then you have to return the appropriate mask. Arihant is asking, should it be POPC of mask into N? Why is that, Arihant? I didn't understand. Let me just go back to that. Oh, what did I do? Oh, sorry. This is, no, this seems to be fine. I didn't understand. Why should it be into N? See, POPC is returning the number of, okay. Maybe you mistook it for atomic increment, maybe. Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, so this is not the increment part, that is, we want to give this large value where wraparound happens. This is just the addition of by how much counter needs to be incremented. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, any other suggestions, questions, concerns? All right, so we wanted to do this classwork that I want to return the mask, that is, I just want to use a ballot such that every third thread of a warp has this condition to be true. How will the code look like? Okay, so like go ahead, or somebody is trying still. Yeah, so one of the things that is required is, okay, so what should be the mask if A is initialized to all zeros? Well, it's going to be, this condition is going to be true for all of them, and therefore mask is going to be all ones, right? So that is okay. So one of the ways in which this can be implemented is that the ballot has logically two conditions, one on the thread ID, right, and the other one is on the data item that it is processing. right? So both of these conditions need to be given, and then you get the mask corresponding to that. Okay, Shet has written that A of threaded equals 0 and threaded is mod 3. Yes, so that is what seems to be correct. So this has a different implication though, right? So can somebody tell me where this can, I mean, as far as the problem statement in English is concerned versus what we have coded, there seems to be relation, but there is, the code is doing something more than what the problem statement probably indicates. And this needs to be clarified, of course, but can somebody figure out where there could be a problem? Okay, a hint is that every thread is going to execute this code. Right? This condition is going to get executed by every warp thread. That is your hint. Now, can you think about where there is a difference between the English statement and the CUDA statement? Kshitij says threaded x.x greater than length of a. Okay. Sure, that could be an issue which we need to fix. Sure, let's say that we have fixed it. Let's say we have, yeah, that is correct. That can also occur. But let's assume for now that the length of A is same as the number of threads. Now, will there be any issues? Third thread of every warp has A of thread ID x.x equals 0. Thrice the memory accesses than what we require. Okay, Sai Chaitanya says third thread of every warp has A of thread ID x equals 0. Yeah, which is probably okay, right? I didn't understand what is the issue. Shade says thrice the memory accesses than what we require. And why would that be? Why
I mean,
would there be?
we only need to check every third A, right? But over here, we are checking all the A's.
Yes, so that is one problem, which can possibly be taken care of if we are using the condition first, thread ID x.x mod 3 equals 0, because of short circuiting. The other may not get accessed is what we would have said, but then because of memory coalescing, same thing will, I mean, anyway, those are going to get accessed. But let's assume that there is some function of thread ID x.x because of which this can be improved by using the short circuiting. So that is also fine. Naga Anish says thread ID x.x mod 3 not equal to 0 or A of thread ID x.x equals 0. Right? So this is something which I had in mind, and this came up during a discussion in one of the classes. In one of the earlier classes, I just had this part, and then students indicated that, see, the English statement is talking about only the third thread. They are not talking about the other threads at all. Whereas this particular code that we have written is going to be executed by mod 3 equals 1 as well as mod 3 equals 2 threads also, and they are going to get ballots output as 0. The mask is going to be 0 for them. Whereas the problem statement says that it is don't care. The problem statement doesn't say that what should be the state of the other threads. Right? So this is where there is a small imprecision which is being coming into play, and that's what students had indicated, like Naga Anish suggested. So the code forces other threads to return 0, which may not be the case. Right? So I hope this part is clear. In case there is any question here, we can take that up. And now we would like to fix it. I would like this to be a don't care, and that is where Naga Anish's code comes into play. So you can have the same condition, and then it can be augmented with some OR condition, or the way Naga Anish has written, that could be another way in which that can be written. So we need to add that OR condition for the other threads. That is very important if you want to have a faithful translation of the English statement to the CUDA statement, right? Any questions on this? Is this clear? Okay, so I assume that it is clear. All right, so I mean, WAP voting we have been saying is anyway based on the condition. So let's look further into it. So if I have a conditional check onto the thread, so these are all the even numbered threads which I am processing, and I'm trying to run a ballot on it. Well, first of all, does it work? Because we are talking about the SIMD kind of execution, and only half the threads are going to participate in the if clause. Well, that we have said is not really a problem. Ballot will work even if only a few threads participate in it. So that should be all right. And for other threads, anyway, those are going to get masked, and therefore their mask is going to be anyway 0. So that's not an issue. So what will be the output of this particular code? This part is same as before. The block is same as before, just that I have added that that only the even numbered threads should process it. Now what will be the output? Earlier without this, it should have been this is %d of POPC. So it was 32, 32, 32, and 4. Now will it be 16, 16, 16, and 2 or something else? Okay. So as I was mentioning, that it is all right to have part of the WAP threads not part of the ballot and the POPC. So it is okay. It's going to print 16, 16, 16, and 2 as we thought about. So this part is also all right. Okay. So how do you implement this WAP voting? One of the things that we have done as part of this course is that there are some things which are available at the higher level. For example, thrust library, or in some of the recent versions of CUDA, you have let's say synchronization across CPU, GPU also supported, or synchronization across thread blocks is also supported. I mean, in terms of barrier, for example. But what we have done is gone to the very basics of the CUDA details and tried to implement many of these things on our own, so that we know what is happening underneath. Similarly, if you have to implement this WAP voting by yourself, it won't be as efficient, most probably. But how will you implement those? Right? So, any suggestions on? Let's say I want to implement __ all. How will I implement that? Any suggestions? Maybe what you can assume is that you have this ballot, maybe POPC, available with you. Now, how will you implement that? Using these, how will you implement all? Okay. So we can expect this to be the case that, okay, some Kshitij has written POPC == 32, right? So we do a ballot, and then we check if POPC is returning 32. Nivedita says ballot followed by checking if mask is 32. Yeah, whether the mask's counter is going to be 32 or not, right? So that is going to give us an implementation of all. POPC greater than 0 is going to give us implementation of any, right? So using these definitely. But what about if you want to implement ballot yourself or POPC yourself? Right? So that will require you to do some more work. Again, it will not be as efficient, but you will be able to implement this using some sort of the these bitwise operators, right? So once you have taken the ballot, that is the mask, then you can use some bitwise operators to count the number of bits set, etc. So that is one way in which it can be done. Right? Yeah, one of the things that you should be careful about is where all do you require atomic instructions, because you are doing this across. Once you have ballot, then things are okay. But if you want to implement ballot, then you might require some reading from a particular variable and writing to a particular counter. So reading from the ballot might turn out to be okay. Reading from a particular condition might turn out to be okay. But writing the mask will require you some sort of an atomic, right? So because we don't have functions which will set a particular bit, right? So you will require, although these are all independent bits for 32 threads, right? So think about this offline. Can we implement these for a thread block, or can we generalize these to a thread block that I want to implement any? So you are given now any all ballot for a WAP level. Now you want to implement it at the thread block level. So what will you do? Okay, so once again, there is going to be a hierarchical computation where things are happening at the and the warp level. So you have found out what all has each representative from a warp has, and using that, now there are multiple warps in the thread block. Now can I do something similar using these representatives? That is one way in which that can be done. But there is a more efficient way in which this can be done. What would that be? So the first method that I mentioned is that representative, that is warp 0 of each warp, is going to communicate with each other, and they all are going to then find out what is happening at the thread block level. So, but I'm saying that there should be a better way to get this done. What would that be? Okay. So one of the aspects that you should always remember in this case specifically is that there are maximum 32 warps in a thread block, considering that the current limit is 1024 for a thread block. Now, does that give a hint? Okay, so the idea is that these representatives from different warps are going to write to or these conditions from different representatives are going to be evaluated not by the representatives but by one warp, right? And if one warp executes it, that means that 32 threads of the same warp, of one warp, are going to evaluate these conditions across all the warps, right? The 32 warps, and that can allow you to use Ballet as well as POPC or other any functions at the warp level for across these warps, right? So there will be still a two-step process, but instead of using the representatives, you use another warp or one of these warps to as a second step, and that will help you utilize these better. All right, any questions so far? This can also be generalized to other GPU threads and so on. And you can as well go further and implement it for multi-GPU. That's also an interesting thing. All right, so that comes to the end of this course. Any questions so far on what we discussed today or what we have discussed in last 50 lectures? Okay, so if there are no questions, I'll just summarize. So we looked at the basic GPU programming, where we divided the processing into computation, memory, synchronization, etc. Computation, we looked at thread divergence, and then different number of threads per block. Is global memory, then shared memory, texture, constant, which we briefly did, just one program, but shared memory we spent some time. Then there are also registers available which are not really programmable as such, but then there is local memory available for each thread. And then in synchronization we spent a good amount of time. We looked at lots of different aspects, atomics, barriers, using control flow, data flow, and then we use these mechanisms. Sometimes we use properties to use reduction and prefix sum, etc. We also spent some time on debugging, so that you are able to debug your programs rather relatively easily using CUDA GDB and then profiling, etc. And we towards the end we looked at some of the advanced GPU programming concepts like streams, where you can push multiple kernels simultaneously or multiple GPU operations simultaneously. Heterogeneous computing, which was involving both CPU and GPU. We didn't do any case studies, right? So that is one part which we missed in the course, which is actually the 9th set of slides. We also lost 1 week, and that 1 week would have been very useful to cover these case studies. I'll see if I can record these lectures just for the sake of completeness, nothing like for the exam. But in case somebody is interested, you could go through these case studies later. We also looked at, well, we did cover some part of unified virtual memory, but primarily we looked at the host alloc memory. Right? So that was something which was useful when we are dealing with CPU GPU computation. Then multi-GPUs and peer access we looked at briefly. And in case some of you get interested in doing your work to multi-GPU processing, either in your course project or later, feel free to make use of these concepts. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me, even if it is not related to the course. Even after the course is over, feel free to write to me if you have any questions. So where do we go from here? Well, the world is wide open. There are lots of other things that you can learn. More advanced things are coming in the GPU domain. There are more parallel processing that you can learn. For example, the CPU side parallelism, like multi-core parallelism or shared memory parallelism. Then there is distributed parallelism, which you can learn, which typically uses MPI, but there are other libraries or other frameworks also which you can use. For example, somebody who is interested, let's say, in cloud processing, you can learn about, let's say, Hadoop or MapReduce, etc. So all of these are going to make use of some of the concepts that we have learned as part of this course. And with some pride, I can say that this is one of the few courses offered all across the world which covers CUDA programming to this detail. And by making use of, I mean, we have also made these lectures available online, free for everybody, not only our IIT Madras students, but also other students. And there are a lot of other people who are getting benefited not only from the lectures, but also the course material, various programs that we have, small programs which we have created to illustrate different concepts. I hope that you learned some deal out of this, if not good deal, at least some deal out of this. And if you have any questions, you must have filled up your TCF, etc. But if there is some other feedback which you can give me to improve this course for the further offerings, that will be very helpful. And I would like to rest my case here. Thanks a lot. I learned a lot of material out of this, in the sense that while most of it is something which I have taught, there were definitely always I keep making some changes to the slides uh, to improve the presentation, or sometimes there is some new thing which comes up from a batch which forces me to look at. For example, this peer access, there was some question offline about the mapping between CPU and GPU, sorry, two GPU memories, which made me create another program that is added now as part of the slides, although I didn't cover it. But those slides are going to be added to the web page. So please take a look at that, which will illustrate the peer access concept a little better. So like this, there have been different modifications which I have done to the slides, and I hope you find those helpful. Assignments were little heavy. Initially it was okay, but I know that third and fourth assignment, especially larger number of marks, that must have created some hiccups for you. We also tried to extend the deadline. We gave some leeways in evaluation. But overall, I hope that you learned something out of the assignments also. That putting pressure was not really the goal of the assignment, but we wanted you to learn, write some serious code on your own. The TA's involvement has been tremendously helpful, and there are 8 TAs for this course, and all of them have spent a good amount of time in designing the assignments, creating test cases, evaluation, as well as looking at some of the manual queries. Then there are issues from your side. There are some forcings from my side, and they have been sandwiched at times, but they have managed through all of this very well so far. Your course project evaluation is also going to be done primarily by them. I'll be available at some places, but primarily it is going to be evaluated by the students. I might look at some of your codes or some of your presentations offline. But yeah, so I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the 8 TAs for doing a good job as part of this course. And thanks to you guys. I enjoyed the course. Hope you enjoyed too. And we have 2 more evaluations left. One is the course project, and another is the NSEM, which is currently unknown because the Moodle is down. So I don't know what is the current count, but I could see that most of the students have given a vote for the scaling. But let me look at the final numbers, and I'm going to decide after that. All right, so I'll stop here. Thanks a lot. And,
Thank you, sir.
yeah, thanks, Venkat. Thanks everybody for
Thank you very much, sir.
interactive also.
What
Thanks a lot.
great course.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot. See you. Bye. I'll wait for some couple of minutes so that I record all these thank yous. Maybe quickly, please wait. Maybe those of you who can afford can switch on their videos, and I'll just take a picture, screenshot. Great. Let me stop presenting so that I cover more and more number of students in the. So let me change the layout. Okay, maximum number of tiles. Okay, wow, it looks great. I should have seen this earlier. Okay, I'm waiting for others also to join. Yeah, please get into. I know that sometimes it can take a little time to be in a presentable state, but I'll wait for a minute or so, and then we'll take.
Sir, you are on mute. Sir, you are on mute.
Yeah, thanks for reminding. I lost connection at the right time. Let me again set it to the max. Okay, I hope now at least some of the students are able to be around full screen and take a picture. So some of you can also take a picture. Somehow I'm not able to take a picture. Just print screen, right? That should have been the case. But anyway, some of you can possibly take a picture and also send it to me so that I'll have that as a record. Thanks a lot. See you then. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.